Everybody has a story that will break your heart. As a generation, we have hurts consistently in different forms all the time. Traumas, griefs, heartbreaks, betrayals, and they can look like so many different things, but we carry them. Forgiveness is so important in those situations because if you're carrying that around with you, sometimes you don't realize it affects who you are as a person. And the idea of forgiveness gives you a second chance, like almost a new birth, a new look at life. My name is Tara Muldoon, and I'm a publicist and also the creator of FU, the Forgiveness Project. I work with the likes of J. Cole, Rick Ross, Young Jeezy. I absolutely fell into PR. It was not what I wanted to do with my life. I always thought I'd be a social worker or a psychiatrist. But when I moved to Toronto, because I'm from Nova Scotia, I just started talking a lot and haven't really stopped, and that got me into a career in PR. The FU Project is a speaker series which focuses on people talking about a time where they had to forgive either themselves or another. Addiction, trauma, assault, abuse, grief, death. We get into it all. Sex, we get into it all. We, at the project, talk about 4 different types of forgiveness. There's the forgiveness of self, forgiveness of another person forgiving you, and then forgiveness of asking for forgiveness from the world or God or whatever that looks like to you. When I started the project, I was just coming to terms with being a rape victim. I always think of the assault or my rape as being like before the rape, terror, and then after. Walking down the street and not having my head up, not wanting to interact with people, being really scared to be alone with men, being scared of life. And I'm not saying that forgiveness fixed that quickly, but it was just the start of me not wanting to continuously be so bitter at people. And I think one of the biggest things for me is that I wasn't interested in developing new friendships or relationships. I was very closed off. So after we decided that the speaker series had been kind of running on its own, we released the FU Project book on violence and compassion. We ended up receiving funding from the City of Toronto, and people just wanted to tell their stories. And it's really interesting for a lot of people because it's what forgiveness looks like from both the perpetrator and the victim amidst violence. So the book has been such an incredible process because it's brought in people together, and people I would not have met on a regular day-to-day basis, especially in these circumstances where they want to tell you their stories. So I've met Pope Francis, who for me was just incredible. One of our first speakers that we ever had who believed in me, and I still to this day am shocked at that, is Wayne Barrow, who managed Biggie, Notorious B.I.G., and talked about, publicly for the first time, talked about Biggie's death and forgiveness of that. The project itself is so amazing, but it's the speakers that run it. Jessica Kaya is one of the speakers from the book who blows my mind every time I talk to her because she's been through a mental health battle and suicide attempts, and she's still the strongest person I've ever met, and she wrote for the book. Sahar is just a profound writer, and she wrote this piece that is on her life experience in such a completely different way. And Nadine is actually part of the second book, which is coming. She's a young mother and has been through multiple sexual assaults and traumatic experiences and lost a lot of people in her life. And she talks about it with such grace and forgiveness. And the project was my way of making the community in Canada and hopefully the world just go through therapy with me, heal with me. How has forgiveness helped you?
Forgiveness has transformed my mental health. Forgiveness has transformed how I experience life. Forgiveness has also changed my life in that really studying my parents' childhood and what they went through and who they were before they had an idea of making a child, to be able to forgive them for being just like me and just like all of us, a singular person on a journey, not the world's best parent and not the world's most prepared parent.
In my personal journey with forgiveness, I had to learn to forgive myself for a lot of the stuff that has happened in my life. A lot of it has to do with a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse, abandonment.
Having gone through this journey, I think it was really a lot of self-education, just a lot of taking the time to educate myself to understand that forgiveness is not synonymous with a lot of the negative connotations that it has in society. It's, you know, when you forgive someone, it's like you're giving in or you're quitting or you're backing down. And it was just really enlightening for me to understand that it was actually the opposite of that.
I took it in the home, and I take it in life, that hurt people are hurting people. When we're rude, when we're impatient, when we're unfair, and it's that satisfaction of I was hurt and now I'm passing that on and I'm releasing that. When you can understand why you're doing that, why hurt people, you can get a little bit of distance between yourself and the action, sometimes a little bit of time to think, to rethink.
Is forgiveness for everybody, and is there anything that's unforgivable?
When you come from certain communities or certain parts of the city or wherever you live, and the idea of forgiving something is just weak. It's not just, you know. Those are the kind of things that we are aiming to challenge, and those are the kind of things that we're hoping to be able to kind of put out there, so that when you think about forgiveness, it comes from a place of strength, and that it no longer comes from somewhere that is inaccessible.
Describe what the FU gatherings are like.
The space that we're in, no matter where we are, always kind of transforms into this holy space where things are happening, and I feel like people are just kind of letting it happen, and it's amazing.
Everybody is so ready to talk. There's just such a power behind talking to people and having people relate. To be a part of that is just empowering.
This project is really a social movement, that it's really a tool to get people to kind of redefine the boundaries that we have today, and want to do better, and want to understand what it would mean to collectively take accountability for something, so that we can collectively move forward and kind of stop hurting each other just because we're hurt. I think it's a perfect start for that, so I just want it to be huge.
Forgiveness is something that touches everybody, and I don't care who, what, where you're from. Like, this is such a real conversation. I think what we want to do now is just keep building on that idea of touching hearts, letting people know that forgiveness is here as a conversation, as an option. What would it look like? But the future for us looks amazing. We're working on the second book right now, and I just want to keep hearing people's stories, because every single day it inspires me.